So let's brainstorm some tactics, knowing that these are just tactics, that they need to fit in with your strategy, right, which we're going to figure out. But let's do a brainstorm. And I made a list, but I want to hear from you guys too. Of, what are some fun engagement things that you've seen other organizations do or that you've done in your organizations that have worked well?
My favorite stuff is built in our whole program are just very predictable kind of signature events that we're going to do every year at the same time. People know when they come around. One is our big day at the Capitol, our Conservation Lobby Day. 500 people descend on Madison from all over the state. People know it's going to come. It's a big fun homecoming for the environmental community in Wisconsin. Listening sessions are another one that becomes signature. People, again, it creates that buy-in and legitimacy where our constituents and legislators know that we're out there in the state talking to people. And again, it's consistent and predictable, and people know it's coming and want to be part of it. And know it's going to be back again in a year or two, whatever program we're doing.
And I want to talk about, and I actually like that you mentioned both of these. The listening sessions is one of the things on my list too. Rally days, from a mobilization standpoint of actually getting, an issue or a piece of legislation passed at the Capitol, for example. That's not always super effective. You have to be able to mobilize your constituents in other ways because elected officials expect to see everybody at the Capitol and then never hear from them again. Right? So if your organization has a lot of time and energy to do that amongst other tactics, that's great. But how it relates to engagement, which I think is really great and interesting that you brought it up, is that even though it may not necessarily be the thing that gets your legislation passed, people love it. So when thinking about engagement work, it's also okay, so what's the thing that gets people energized? And so I think that's why it's a really great example. Okay, so listening session. So what do you mean by listening session for those who may not know what that is?
We have, in our program, we have about a dozen listening sessions throughout the state, inviting all of our members, key activists from other organizations, other conservation groups, state and local groups, Sierra Club, Trout Unlimited, hunt fish groups, the whole works. Invite them to come and share their ideas about what issues they want to tackle in the next 2-year legislative cycle. We then make those our priority issues that are our signature feature campaigns.
That is awesome, and that again is something that organizations don't do a whole lot, and it's a way to get people really invested in your mission. The road that line of thinking gets us down is that if we don't think of something really super awesome, unique, creative that nobody else has done, then we're not going to be able to engage our supporters. I think assuming that, well, two things. Assuming A, that you have to think of something super duper fun and creative to keep your supporters engaged isn't always true. And I think two, even if you think of something super duper fun and creative to keep your supporters engaged, it doesn't mean that it's going to work. So I think that some of this is, as she had said this morning, being experimental, right? This isn't going to be we're going to necessarily hit the nail on the head right away, but we're going to have to try some different things. See what resonates with our audience. Yes, we want to try and be creative, but I think the big thing is that you make it fun for folks and you give them a chance, as Kat had said before, to connect and engage with each other. And then you want to make it personal. You can't just be shooting people emails all the time.
What I have started doing is, because I've noticed people have stopped responding to our action alerts, I'm now calling them on the phone because nobody's using the phone anymore. And it works.
Yes. Thank you. Right.
Okay, change your tactic.
Yes.
If everybody's doing this, then go back to find what people aren't doing, which is using the phone.
If you guys want to figure out what your supporters care about, for example, you can do a poll, Karen can talk to you guys about doing a poll through the data bank, and then you can say, whoever fills out the poll, we're going to put their name in a drawing and we're going to give them 2 free tickets to, a Twins game. There's fun little things that you guys can do to kind of keep people's attention and get them involved. Again, these activities, making them fun is really important, but it is important that they're tied to a larger objective and aren't just kind of floating out there to do them, and that maybe it is to increase your base or maybe it is just to generate buzz and get some media attention, but either way, to kind of know why you're doing what you're doing.